It was supposed to be a light-hearted evening. My wife, Laura, and I had been invited to a colleague's birthday dinner at a trendy downtown restaurant. She looked stunning, hair done perfectly, red dress that turned heads the moment we walked in. I was proud to have her on my arm. Dinner was lively, filled with jokes and laughter. I'd had a couple of drinks and was feeling warm, relaxed. At one point, I leaned toward Laura, smiling, and tried to kiss her on the cheek. That's when it happened. She flinched back and hissed, "Stop. You're embarrassing me. I don't want to look taken." For a second, I thought I misheard her. The words didn't register right away, but the look on her face, annoyed, almost disgusted, made my chest tighten. I pulled back slowly, heat rushing to my face. Around the table, no one seemed to notice, but I felt like every eye was on me. The rest of dinner passed in a blur. I smiled when I had to, but inside I was crumbling. On the drive home, Laura chatted casually about the food, the music, the decor, as if nothing had happened. I gripped the steering wheel tighter and tighter until my knuckles went white. When we finally got home, I couldn't hold it in any longer. "What did you mean back there?" I asked, voice low. She rolled her eyes. "Mark, it was just a joke. Don't be so sensitive." "Sensitive?" I repeated, my voice rising despite my effort to stay calm. "You told me you didn't want to look taken. You made me feel like a fool in front of everyone." Laura crossed her arms and turned away. "You always make everything about you. Can't you just let me enjoy myself without smothering me?" I stood there in silence, my chest burning. I had gone out of my way to make her happy tonight, driven her across town, sat through hours of small talk, and somehow I was the problem? That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, a heavy pit forming in my stomach. Something inside me told me this wasn't just about tonight. The next morning, Laura acted as if nothing had happened. She hummed while making coffee, scrolling through her phone, laughing at something one of her friends had posted. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at her, wondering how she could look so calm when my entire chest felt like it was on fire. Finally, I spoke. "Laura, we need to talk about last night." She sighed and set the mug down. "Mark, I already told you, you overreacted. It was a joke. You're making this a bigger deal than it needs to be." I leaned forward. "You said you didn't want to look taken. Do you even hear yourself? You're married. You are taken." Something in her expression shifted, just slightly, like she was irritated that I wouldn't drop it. "You don't get it," she said coldly. "When I'm out with my friends or coworkers, I don't want to be treated like someone's wife. I want to feel free, fun, attractive." I stared at her in disbelief. "So you want to act single?" Her silence was all the answer I needed. That day at work, I couldn't concentrate. Every email, every phone call felt like static. My mind kept replaying her words, the look on her face when she said them. I thought about all the times I had canceled plans, worked extra hours, done everything I could to provide her the life she said she wanted, only to realize she didn't even want to look like she belonged to me. When I came home that evening, Laura was already dressed up again, makeup perfect, heels clicking against the hardwood floor. "Going out again?" I asked. She barely glanced at me. "Yeah, just drinks with some friends. Don't wait up." And just like that, she was gone. I sat in the quiet house for hours, staring at my phone. I wanted to text her, demand she come home, tell her how much she was hurting me. But something stopped me. Instead, I sat there in the dark, thinking about the man I was becoming, quiet, resentful, invisible in my own marriage. Something had to change. A few days later, I decided I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I needed answers, clarity, and more than that, respect. Laura returned home late that evening, her energy high, her laughter echoing in the hallway. I met her at the doorway. "Laura, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but cold. She stopped, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Can it wait? I just got home." "No," I said firmly. "It can't wait anymore." I told her how last week's incident had made me feel invisible, humiliated, and disrespected. I told her about every moment I had lain awake, feeling like I was losing the woman I loved, not because she had left physically, but because she had stopped being present. Her expression shifted from irritation to frustration, then to something like guilt. "Mark, you're blowing this out of proportion," she said, almost defensively. I shook my head. "No. I'm done pretending. I can't keep bending over backwards while you treat our marriage like a performance. Either we respect each other or this ends." For a moment, there was silence, the kind that presses against your chest. Then she said softly, almost whispering, I don't know if I can change." That was it. That was the moment I realized the gap between us wasn't something we could bridge with apologies or gestures. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a choice, her choice, and I could no longer carry the weight of her decisions. I told her I was moving out temporarily to think things through, to see if this marriage could survive her version of freedom and my version of respect. She nodded quietly, no anger, no fight. Just the sad acceptance of someone who knew they had burned the bridge. Over the next few weeks, I stayed at a friend's apartment. The distance was painful but necessary. It gave me perspective on how much I deserved, how much we all deserved, from a relationship. Laura tried to reach out a few times, but I kept my boundaries firm. Finally, I sat down and drafted the papers for separation. It was not about revenge. It was about reclaiming dignity, teaching both of us that love without respect is empty. When Laura read the documents, tears streaked her face, but she said nothing. I realized then that I had made the hardest choice a person can make. To walk away from someone you once loved, for the sake of self-respect, and for the hope that maybe one day, both of us could find peace. Sometimes the hardest love is knowing when to let go. That night, I slept without fear, without pretending, without compromise. For the first time in months, I felt like I had reclaimed my life.